Can it already be week 15 of this NFL season? Welcome to Cowboys Insider inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Bill Jones with Nate Newton, Rick Goslin, and Daryl Johnston as the Cowboys have now won 2 in a row. Try to go for 3 in a row this week in Oakland against the Raiders. It's Sunday Night Football. Game against the Giants last week, very close, a tight game, a 10-10 game with 10 minutes left in the game, and the Cowboys finished strong. And let's get things started with our opening statements, and let's start with Moose.
Just keep that one game at a time mentality because, as you pointed out, actually even less than 10 minutes. With 8 minutes to go, it was 10-10. 5 minutes later, it's 30-10. So a lot of work to do. Don't pat yourself on the back. Keep playing meaningful games here down the stretch.
I agree with you 100%, Moose. They got to play that game one at a time, man. And you've done it in a team fashion, special teams, defense, running the ball, offense. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing and just build on the momentum.
Would that be keep running the ball, Nate?
Yes, it would be.
And get Rod Smith involved a little bit more than he was.
Rod Smith was definitely involved late in that game, not only rushing the football, but also in the receiving game as well. Let's start with Dak Prescott, though. Of course, this offense really struggled during that 3-game stretch in November where they could not reach double digits in 3 straight games against some tough opposition. But the last couple of games now, they've gone over 30 points. Where do you think Dak is now?
Well, I think he's progressing, obviously, and you know, you look at the tough games, and it was Atlanta, it was Philadelphia, it was the Chargers. Those are good defenses, and a little bit flustered there. You don't have Ezekiel Elliott to be your partner. You went up against 2 teams that are struggling with injuries and having a tough season, and you do what you did. There were big plays across the board by the guys who have to be key down the stretch, whether it was Bryant or Cole Beasley. And then again, Rod Smith. I mean, it was weird. The Giants got super aggressive defensively, but were very conservative offensively. And Dak Prescott made him pay with the short passes.
I think Coach Spagnuolo played to his strength of the New York Giants, trying to play to his defense by running the ball. We saw a tight end, we saw a fullback, but Dak stayed calm. And he stayed patient, and he made some throws, some nice throws at the right time, and guys made some plays for him for a change.
Yeah, big plays. I think the key is big plays. They scored a long way out. Without Elliott, the big play element was gone, and when he's missing and you're not making plays, you're talking about Prescott's head has to have 10 and 12 play drives for touchdowns. Those 3-play, 4-play drives, those are very nice to make everybody look good, especially the quarterback.
And we talk about Rod Smith right off the top here. And, of course, there's been so much talk about his brother Jalen Smith throughout the season. It's great to see Rod Smith have this kind of success. And I know this coaching staff feels like he's got a lot of potential in this league, too.
Well, I didn't realize the breakaway speed that he had. He's run the ball effectively. You saw it during the preseason that he had great feet, a little bit better there than I expected. He's a competitive guy, but to be able to put him out and draw a linebacker in coverage and in an aggressive cover 0 situation, he runs a little slant and goes 81 yards for the touchdown. I mean, that's tough to defend.
I watched him since training camp, man. He was in there with the 3rd and 4th team linemen, making them runs, making them dirty runs. But he's like you, Moose. I mean, he's all around. Special teams, everything. He does what he needs to do to help his team win.
I thought you were going to say he's got the same breakaway speed that
That'd have been a 29-yard game.
The backbone of this passing attack is Des Bryant, Jason Witten, Cole Beasley. Rod Smith now has more 100-yard games than that trio combined this season. 1. We need a little more big plays out of those guys, more of what we saw last week if the Cowboys are going to make a run here.
And it was in the 4th quarter that Cole Beasley and Jason Witten came through in the passing game. And really, you can kind of look at the turning point on defense. Sean Lee stopped Sterling Shepard on a 9-yard end around. And the coaches credited Sean Lee with 20 tackles. Upstairs, they had him with 18 after looking at the all 22. 20 tackles, 5th time in his career he's had 20 tackles in a game.
It's amazing the way that he can see a play develop, and I love guys that trust their instincts, and he's one of those guys that works diligently during the course of the week in the film room to understand that. So when you'll see him as he dissects the play and then he's just gone, and he makes himself unblockable at times.
And then he just helps. It makes it easier for Hitchens and the other guys to do what they need to do. I see them in there talking more. During the game, you can see them talking more. And when you communicate, you're a better team and you can play faster.
The one concern I have is Sean Lee plays bigger than his body. He's like Bob Sanders and Troy Polamalu. They play bigger than their body, and they tend to get hurt because of that. Now, if he stays on the field, this guy's as good a linebacker as there is in the NFL.
And they actually took him out for one series, even though he was healthy, and I don't know if that will continue. That was their way of gradually getting back in there. Give him a series off in the third quarter. How about the rookie DBs? Orlando Scandrick out with an injury, and these rookie guys come through against, as you say, a conservative Giants offense this week.
Yeah, but I think that this is one of the better stories because this has been the unknown all season long. I think everybody was excited to see what this group was going to do, and we've talked about the injuries in training camp, and we just never really knew. I think that this was one of their better games as a group overall, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they mature as blitzers, because that's the one thing now with Rod Marinelli's defense. You know, how can you become a blitzer? Xavier Woods, has that become an element in his game down the stretch?
You know, they'll play two better receivers this week, and it'll give them a different challenge. And these guys are accepting the challenge, and they played well, so I'm excited to see how they grow.
Yeah, the injuries really screwed things up. I wrote a column before the start of the season. I would have started all three of those rookies in the backfield. These guys are your future. Had they been healthy, and I took it back to the 81 Niners. They started three rookies, went to the Super Bowl. If you got these guys on the field from the start, I think they'd be really three blue-chip players right now. But again, the injuries really slowed down the process.
And especially with Chido Awuzie, the second-round pick, who had a hamstring issue in preseason and then again early in the regular season. He'll be making his third straight start against the Raiders on Sunday night, and we will talk about those Oakland Raiders and Derek Carr when Cowboys Insider continues in a moment.
Cowboys Insider, presented by Baylor Scott & White, is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys, AT&T, mobilizing your world, and by Baylor Scott & White. We're changing health care for life. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Back to Prescott's left. This is a blitz, and they throw a slant to Dez, and he caught it and broke away 40, 30, 20. A block from Beasley, and into the end zone, and there's your big play. Prescott to Bryant for 50.
Huge play in the first half on Sunday against the Giants as Dez Bryant finds the end zone. Welcome back to Cowboys Insider inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star. Sunday night football this week. It's the Cowboys and the Raiders, a 7-6 Dallas team, a 6-7 Oakland team. When the NFL schedule makers put this one together and NBC decided we want this for Sunday night football, they thought it was going to be a marquee matchup in the league. Raiders lose last week to Kansas City. Let's start with Derek Carr. And, of course, he had an injury earlier in the year, which kind of derailed things for the Raiders. But he plays better at home than on the road.
I still think they're trying to figure out who they are at this stage of the season. And, you know, you talk to coaches around the league, and everybody wants to run the football a little bit more. And I think it's an opportunity with the Oakland Raiders with Marshawn Lynch. But this offensive line for Oakland, which was considered one of the best in the league last year, along with Dallas and Tennessee, has really struggled this season. It's just amazing to me, without something major going on in Oakland, that they went from 12-4 to 6-7 this year.
You got Amari Cooper, Crabtree, you got Marshawn Lynch, and this is the part of the season where Lynch is supposed to be averaging 20, 25 carries. Something's missing. I don't know if the quarterback is not as good this year or the guys are dropping the ball too much, but they got to find a way. But not this week, but they got to find a way to fix themselves.
Yeah, on paper it makes no sense. This was a playoff, a Super Bowl caliber team last year where they went 12 games. You add Marshawn Lynch, all of a sudden you got a rushing attack. You had Jared Cook, I thought was a great pickup at tight end. On paper, this was a much better team than what they had last year, and yet they're spinning their wheels. One of the big problems, they've only got 2 interceptions. There are no takeaways on this defense. They got 10 total takeaways on the season. They're not giving their offense the football enough.
Yep, they are -10 in the takeaway game, and that will not produce a winning record typically in this league. Marshawn Lynch, last week, he looked good on a couple of runs. Then they fell behind against the Chiefs, and he only carried the ball 7 times in that game. He showed a little bit of a sign of that beast mode, but they need more of that.
Yeah, and I think that that's the big challenge for him, trying to get back to that. And we just had Seattle, and we talked to Pete Carroll about their running game, and they're trying to figure that out as they've gone through a number of different running backs during the course of the season. And he talked about Marshawn Lynch being just one of those unique guys from his productivity on the field, but the way he attacks the game and he makes defenses think. So, at this stage, I don't know if what Oakland's going to do down the stretch, but I would want to find out if Marshawn Lynch is going to be part of my future.
You know, It's just amazing when you look at that game against Kansas City. As the game went on, you just didn't see the emotions that you saw in that last year, 12 and 14. They just playing.
And I think that's the worst thing that could happen to the Cowboys, the way the Raiders just absolutely laid down last week. If there's any heart at all on that team, they got to come back with a very competitive football game this week.
As far as their receiving threats, Nate mentioned Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. Now, Cooper's been bothered by an ankle. We'll see if he'll play this week. He came out of last week's game at Kansas City after missing a couple of games. But Jared Cook has been a guy that's been a favorite target at tight end of Derek Carr's.
Yeah, well, I think, Rick makes a great point. Coming into the season, on paper, they were supposed to take that next step. Everybody knew that because of what happened with the injury of Derek Carr at the end of last season, there's even more motivation there. So, again, just don't have your coming out party this weekend.
Raiders is my second best team in the world, and so I watch them. First few weeks, they drop a pass, they upset. Now they drop a pass, they just walk back to the huddle. It's no enthusiasm. You see my guy, Mari, is that Cook or Mari? They just walking back, and this is what you see out of the Raiders. That's not a Raiders team.
I don't know what's happened to Amari Cooper. He was a Pro Bowl wide receiver. He had a 212-yard game against Kansas City this season. In the other 11 games, he's got 280 yards total. Where is your big play receiver? He's disappeared. He hasn't been hurt all season.
And then on defense, they made a change at defensive coordinator, Ken Norton, John Pagano for Ken Norton. And their edge rushers the last couple of games, Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin, really since Pagano has taken over. I think he simplified things and he says go get the quarterback, and they're doing a good job of going after the quarterback.
Yeah, that's a pretty good combination of edge rushers when you look around the league. I think Oakland could be right up there at the top with anybody in the NFL when you talk about the potential of these guys to change a game. So for Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins, they better be ready to play.
Mac. We know Mac, reigning MVP, but Bruce Irvin, they've letting him get after the quarterback now, boy. I think he had 2 or 3 sacks last week. He is chomping at the bit, so it's going to be a nice little matchup at the tackles, as Moose said.
And they've got talent in the secondary. I mean, Sean Smith is a good big cornerback who can line up against the big receivers. Joseph and Nelson are a solid secondary 10. I don't know where the plays are back there because they're getting the pass rush. And when you get the pass rush, you should get some takeaways. All
right, when we come back here on Cowboys Insider, let's go around the NFC East and how injuries have played a factor in this season, especially with your new NFC East champion, Philadelphia Eagles, and Carson Wentz.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. You're home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage. This segment is brought to you by DraftKings. Play for free today at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site.
This big play in the game with 4:21 left. 3rd and 3, Dallas at its own 19. 7 on the first one, nothing on the second one. Empty gun. Prescott claps his hands, has the ball, throws it over the middle, cut, running away to the 40. This is Rod Smith. He's going to go. There's nothing but blue shirts around him. Rod Smith into the end zone. Touchdown of 81 yards on 3rd down and 3.
You can see Dak Prescott there clapping his hands for the snap from center with extra anticipation because I think he knew what he had there with Rod Smith isolated on the linebacker. Welcome back to Cowboys Insider here in the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios. Let's go around the NFC East a little bit. What a classic game last week when the Eagles go to play at the Rams. Eagles win the game. They win the NFC East, but they lose the guy who a lot of people think is the MVP in the league this year in Carson Wentz. He's got a torn ACL. It's amazing how many injuries there have been around the league this year and how Philadelphia affected.
Yeah, not just injuries, but injuries to big-name players, key players on those football teams. And this was a great win for the Philadelphia Eagles going out to the West Coast. They stay through the week, so to have gone and made that trip and come back to Philadelphia 0-2 would have been very difficult. Unfortunately, they're coming back to Philadelphia without Carson Wentz the rest of the year.
Wow. Yeah, wow, you just hate to hear it, man. I can't add to that.
Well, all is not lost. I'll give Peterson and Roseman credit for going out and getting Nick Foles. Nick Foles, for the better part of 3 seasons, was a starting quarterback in the Eagles earlier this decade. He was 15-9 as a starter. He had 3 400-yard passing games, and he had a 7-touchdown pass game against the Raiders, who are going to be playing in Philadelphia in 2 weeks.
Can you recall a season where so many star players have gone down? I mean, you're starting with J.J. Watt earlier in the year, David Johnson with the Cardinals, of course, Aaron Rodgers is coming back this week. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Ryan Shazier just last week, Deshaun Watson, Beckham. I mean, the list goes on and on.
You have to add another day of physicality. Either you put it into your preseason. These guys are bigger, faster, stronger, have better collisions. In order, your body is not designed to take a punch, a hit of that magnitude. So you have to break this thing down and get yourself in shape. Running ain't gonna do it. Only physical play gonna do this.
Yeah, and when they moved to this style, when the CBA came out and they reduced the amount of contact in training camp and they reduced the amount of contact during the course of the regular season, the boxing community came out and said, listen, we know what you're doing, but you're not going to get the results you want, because when we get ready for a heavyweight fight, as we taper down that headgear all the way down before you're going to go into that fight, at the end, they're almost not wearing anything on top because they have to get used to taking a punch. These guys have to get used to taking a hit.
You look at Aaron Rodgers' injury, that changed the whole dynamic of the NFC. Now Carson Wentz, that's another change to the whole dynamic. All of a sudden, everybody's got a shot with Wentz out. Everybody had a shot with Rodgers out. Yeah, they really overprotect the quarterbacks, but the league keeps losing them.
All right, we go elsewhere around the league. When Cowboys Insider continues in a moment, yes, Aaron Rodgers returns, and things are wide open in the NFC right now thanks to the Carson Wentz injury.
This segment was brought to you by DraftKings. Play for free today at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site.
Minute 22 left. Dallas leading 30-10. Back as Manning sets up and heaves it deep down the middle of the field. It is picked off by Jeff Heath, playing center field at the 15-yard line. Perfect safety zone defense play, and that will be your maraschino cherry with a minute 14 left.
Jeff Heath with his third interception of the season as the Cowboys get their second straight win. They play at the Raiders Sunday Night Football. And welcome back to Cowboys Insider here in the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios as Cowboys in the wild card race, but they're 2 games back of the Panthers, who right now have the number 1 wild card position. They're a game back of a couple of other teams, Atlanta and Seattle. You got the Packers and the Lions, who are tied with the Cowboys at 7-6. It is jumbled up in the wild card. Let's start, though, with the Packers playing at the Panthers, and Aaron Rodgers announced on Tuesday night that, yes, he is coming back, and he's playing this week.
It's amazing for him to get back on the field that quickly, and congratulations to the Green Bay Packers for making it an opportunity so when he does get back, there's still something for them to play for. So this has changed this whole thing. Like Rick just said, when he went down, the entire power in the NFC, in my opinion, the NFL, was shifted, and now it's come back to Green Bay. This is going to be very, very interesting to see him play against that defense. And let me tell you what, if anybody's going to get some hits on that quarterback, you better be careful with that defense.
Tony Romo can tell you about that.
Yeah.
When Tony Romo came back from his injury against the Panthers, did not go well.
You know, I pick on the Panthers quarterback. I said, make him throw the ball. Well, last week he threw the ball and won, so I'm through with that. But they defense with Luke Kuechly, Green Bay better be ready.
Yeah, if you look at it on paper, there could be 3 teams out of the NFC South in the playoffs. They all are in a position to win 11 games. It could be a 3-way tie for first place, and that could leave the Cowboys, Packers, Lions, all these teams that have a chance to get 10 just out of the picture.
And as you look at the Rams and the Seahawks, they're playing this week, and that could be big too. The Cowboys, of course, next week. They hope to still be in this thing as they host Seattle next week. How about over in the AFC? This is the marquee matchup in the league this week, and it is the New England Patriots, who laid an egg on Monday night in Miami, going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who put on another offensive show on Sunday night.
Well, I think it's very similar to what Rick said about Dallas facing Oakland this weekend after a very poor performance against Kansas City. The last thing you want to do is play Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots when they laid an egg on national TV. So not good news for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think it's going to be fun to watch how they defend this skill group that the Pittsburgh Steelers can roll out at you. Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown is, in my opinion, the best combination that's out there in the NFL.
You can be whatever it need to be, but I'm telling you, man, it's something about them Patriots and Steelers. Gronk can get under your skin. and I'm telling you, he's going to come back with a vengeance this week.
I'll tell you what's about the Patriots, the Steelers. Tom Brady. Since he became quarterback, they've beaten the Steelers 12 out of 15 times. They've beaten the Steelers the last 3 times they played, and they beat them at Pittsburgh. They beat them in playoff games, title games. Patriots own the Steelers.
It's that it's the triad in the AFC, right? The Patriots beat the Steelers beat the Chiefs, and the Chiefs beat the Patriots.
Wow, way to go,
Got Tom Brady.
All right, when we come back, what's the key to a Cowboys win in Oakland on Sunday night?
Cowboys Insider, presented by Baylor Scott & White, was brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world. Rico's, make every game a home game with Rico's. Baylor Scott & White, it's easy to find the right doctor right now at BaylorScottandWhite.com. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' films and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Final 35 seconds of Cowboys Insider here in the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studio. So real quick, 3 words for each person. How you want to go play that game?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 3 words, a key to victory.
Protect your edges.
Protect your edges.
Play hard and smart.
Oh, wait.
Play.
Comma. There was a comma.
And final word.
Run the ball. Run the ball.
Run the ball. Run the ball.
Play hard.
And Zeke is
Smart.
back next week. We'll see
Play
you
hard,
next week.
smart. Smart, hard.